I've never been anything but a volunteer all my life. I'm now 92, so it started when I was 14. I grew up with very generous parents. Mom used to say, listen, we're so blessed to have food. The word I wasn't used, it was always we, because you're not thinking of the individual you. Yes, well, Fraser and I met on November the 8th, 1946. 18 days later, we were engaged. Fraser made a point all through his life that money is never all your money. Well, when Fraser first had the idea of the foundation, it was a much more religious city. If people were giving, they would be giving to their church. But Fraser wanted them to think beyond. And he'd say, we got a great city. This is a case of giving back. We had an associate minister of Rosedale United Church. An expression that he used, I think Rosedale should cross the street. And that's what Rosedale did. It crossed the street and went to mid-Toronto.
Well, I met Fran when my husband and I first came to church. We used to cook for the homeless, and now we're down in Regent Park. And so, yes, we have the homeless, but we also have people who are living on the edge. We new Canadians, they can come and practice their English and be made to feel welcome and have a good meal. And there's a lineup at that table because everybody wants to have a little chat with Fran.
My great pride is my son John, who is now 65, has volunteered at the CRC since he was exactly 17.
Maybe it started back with their parents. That's the way they were taught. That's the way they've taught their children. They have very high values, say high morals, high anything that goes into making a person someone who is outstanding. Good stock.
I really believe that so much of future happiness is started with what you've known as a young person.
Fran and I have been very good friends for the last 10 years. There are a lot of lessons that you can learn from somebody who's in their early 90s. Fran has seen tremendous change in the city of Toronto, and she's adapted to the change. She is very modern in her thinking.
I've often thought that if Fraser dropped to earth, he wouldn't even recognize it. It's just such an entirely different city. I think he'd be most impressed with the magnitude and generosity of people in areas that weren't even considered. It's fabulous that there's so many organizations that are now being looked after.
The foundation, I think, is incredibly important to the city of Toronto on a multitude of levels. They really have made me aware of charitable organizations that I might not have heard of before. There's a lot of focus these days on financial planning and having those discussions with your family about estate planning. I think every bit as important is that if charitable giving is important for you, have those discussions with your family. I think that the foundation is a really good way for families to start those conversations.
Legacy was what it was all about. How do you wish to be remembered? Is this a city where you would like to have the legacy of your family continue?
The sense that I've always had from the Deacons is that they've had a very enjoyable experience in Toronto. The city's been good to them, and they've got a responsibility to be good to the community. And the Deacons have really shown what the art of wise giving can mean.
I think the legacy of the Deacon family will be the giving of themselves.
The elements of those things that I value about Fran, I can see at the foundation.
True giving is a two-way street. You may be giving, but you're certainly receiving.